you all are doing well today. Thank you for taking the time to join me for this study that I'm going to share on figs. My disclaimer before I get started is that I am not a teacher. I am a student of the greatest teacher. And as I study and take notes, I like to share with others as a tool of encouragement. And all scripture that I go over today, I will leave that scripture in the description box below this video so that if you are interested, you can go back and read it all for yourself. The first word that we're going to look at for figs is Strong's H8384. And the word is tenah. And I've got my lovely little chalkboard here, which I do not claim to be a Hebrew or Hebrew expert. But as I learn, I like to share it with others. So Hebrew goes right to left. So the word tenah is ta, aleph, nun, he. And it also has a numerical value, which we'll go over in just a little bit. But that word is for, it's tenah for fig. The Strong's definition given is a fig. The Hebrew Chaldean lexicon lists an Indian fig, which is, they put a Musa paradiscia. This is large leaves, but when I looked that up online, that says it's an edible banana tree. So I'm just going to go with the fig tree. The first scripture we're going to look at is Bereshith, Genesis 3:7. This is when Adam and Hawa, or Eve, ate of the forbidden fruit. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made loin coverings or girdles for themselves. So when they ate the fruit, not only did they get this knowledge that they were naked or helpless, but they realized it was wrong enough to cause them to cover their loins, right? And they had a choice. They were given a choice, and instructed not to do that, but they did it. Bimidbar, Numbers, chapter 13, verse 23. This is where the men were sent out to spy from the tribes to the land of Canaan at the season of the first fruit of grapes. And they came to the Wadi Eshkol, which means cluster of grapes, and cut down from there a branch with one cluster of grapes, and they bore it between two of them on a pole, also of the pomegranates and of the figs. Chapter 20, verse 5. And why have you brought us up out of Mitzrayim, Egypt, to bring us to this evil place, not a place of grain or figs or vines or pomegranates, and there is no water to drink? Now, doesn't that sound like some ungrateful people leaning on their own understanding instead of just having belief, right? Devarim, Deuteronomy, chapter 8, verse 7 through 8. This is guarding Yahuwah's commands, if guarding his commands. For Yahuwah your Elohim is bringing you into a good land, a land of streams of water, of fountains and springs that flow out of valleys and hills, a land of wheat, a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey. So we see 7 products of this promise, with the fig being one of the 7 species, and the fertile land of Canaan. These 7 plants together can provide food all year round. Shoftim, Judges, chapter 9, verse 10 through 11. This is where the trees went forth to anoint a sovereign over them. And Jotham had stood on top of Mount Gerizim, speaking to the masters of Shechem. Then the tree said to the fig tree, "Come, reign over us." And the fig tree said to them, "Shall I leave my sweetness and my good fruit to go sway over trees?" Melachim Aleph. Okay, 1 Kings 4:25. This is referencing Shelomo, or Solomon's food supply. And this is referencing a fig tree. And Yehuda and Yasharel dwelt safely, each man under his vine and his fig tree, from Dan, okay, which is judgment, or he that judges, as far as Beersheba, a well of an oath, all the days of Shelomo. Melachim Biet, which is 2 Kings 18:31. This is where the chief cupbearer, Rab Shakah, was calling out in a loud voice, do not listen to Hezekiah, which means my strength is Yahuwah. For thus said the sovereign of Asher, of gladness, make peace with me by a present and come out to me. Let each of you eat from his own vine and from his own fig tree, and each of you drink the waters of his own cistern. The sovereign wanted them to live like him, a pagan king. Yeshayahu, Isaiah 34:4. And all the host of the Shamayim, the heavens, shall rot away, and the Shamayim shall be rolled up like a scroll, and all their host fade like a leaf fading on the vine, and like the fading one of a fig tree. Chapter 36, verse 16. Do not listen to Hezekiah, for thus said the sovereign of Asher. Make peace with me by a present and come out to me, and let each of you eat from his own vine and from his own fig tree, and each of you drink the waters of his own cistern. So in this Isaiah 36, it's the same account of 2 Kings 18:31. Isaiah 38:20. This is where Hezekiah was near death, but he recovered from sickness. For Yeshayahu had said, let them take a cake of figs. And the word for cake of figs is H1690. And it's debla tena. That's used 5 times. I'm not going to go over that scripture for cake of figs, but just a side note. And apply it to the boil so that he lives. Jeremiah 5:17. This is where Yahuwah was bringing an ancient nation from afar whose language they do not know, when Yasharel and Yehudah betrayed Yahuwah. And they shall eat up your harvest and your bread, which your sons and daughters should eat. They shall eat up your flocks and your herds. They shall eat up your vines and your fig trees. With the sword, they shall demolish your walled cities in which you are trusting. 8:13. This is where the backslidden, the hard-hearted, the false pens of the scribe, not repenting of their evil. I shall snatch them away, declares Yahuwah. There are no grapes on the vine, nor figs on the fig tree, and the leaf has faded. Okay, well, leaf represents hope. So the leaf is faded. Seems like there's just no hope, right? And what I gave them shall pass away from them. 24:1-3. Yahuwah showed me, and look, there were 2 baskets of figs put before the Hekal, the temple of Yahuwah, after Nebuchadrezzar, which means Nebo protects the crown, sovereign of Babel, confusion, had exiled Yekoniyahu, which means established of Yahuwah, son of Jehoiakim, which means Yahuwah raises up, sovereign of Yehudah, and the heads of Yehudah, with the craftsmen and the smiths from Jerusalem, and had brought them to Babel. It brought them to confusion. One basket had very good figs, like the figs that are first ripe, and the other basket had very spoilt figs, which could not be eaten. They were so spoiled. And Yahuwah said to me, what do you see, Yirmiyahu? Which means exaltation of Yahuwah. And I said, figs, the good figs, very good, and spoiled. Very spoiled, which could not be eaten. They are so spoiled. Verse 5. Thus said Yahuwah, the Elohim of Yasharel, like these good figs, so do I acknowledge the exiles of Yehudah, whom I have sent out of this place for their own good, into the hand of the Castites, which is of kesed or increase. Verse 8, we're still in Jeremiah. As the spoiled figs that could not be eaten because they are so spoiled, for thus said Yahuwah, so do I give up Zedekiah, which is righteousness of Yahuwah, the sovereign of Yehudah, his heads, the rest of Jerusalem who remain in this land, and those who dwell in the land of Mitzrayim, or Egypt. 29:17. Thus said Yahuwah of hosts, Sabaoth, see, I am sending on them the sword, the scarcity of food, and the pestilence, and I shall make them like spoiled figs, so spoiled as to be inedible. So, bad figs are not part of the kingdom. One bad fig spoils the whole basket. Hosea 2:12. This is about the mother whoring and that they prepare their offerings for Baal. and lay waste her vines and her fig trees, of which she said, these are my rewards that my lovers have given me, and I shall make them a forest, and the beasts of the field shall eat them. Hosea 9:10. I found Yasharel like grapes in the wilderness. I saw your fathers as the first fruits on the fig tree in its beginning. They themselves have gone to Baal Peor, which means Lord of the opening, and separated themselves to shame, and became as abominable as that which they loved. Joel 1:7. This is where the nation is coming up against his land. It has laid waste my vine and splintered my fig tree. It has made it entirely bare and cast it away. Its branches became white. Verse 12. The vine has dried up and the fig tree droops. Pomegranate, also palm and apple tree. All the trees of the field are dried up, because joy has dried up among the sons of men. Cause for patient endurance. Chapter 2, verse 22. Do not fear, you beasts of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness shall spring forth, and the tree shall bear its fruit. The fig tree and the vine shall yield their strength. So a remnant that is loyal returns. Amos 4:9. This passage starts out by saying, hear this word, you cows of Bashan. I have smitten you with blight and with mildew. The creeping locust devoured your many gardens, and your vineyards and your fig trees and your olive trees. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yahuwah. Micah 4:4. Peace and prosperity. Okay, in the latter days, it shall be the mountain of the house of Yahuwah that is established on top of mountains, and people will flow to it. Okay, verse 4. But each one shall set under his vine and under his fig tree, with no one to make them afraid. For the mouth of Yahuwah of hosts, Sabaoth, has spoken. Nahum 3:12. All your strongholds are fig trees with ripened figs. When shaken, they shall fall into the mouth of the eater. Habakkuk 3:17. Though the fig tree does not blossom, and there is no fruit on the vine, the yield of the olive has failed, and the fields brought forth no food. The flock has been cut off from the fold, and there is no herd in the stalls. But that's the next verse, 18. Yet I exult in Yahuwah. I rejoice in the Elohim of my deliverance. Haggai 2:19. Is the seed yet in the storehouse, and until now the vine and the fig tree and the pomegranate and the olive tree have not yielded fruit? From this day on I shall Baruch you, shall bless you. Zechariah 3:10. In that day declares Yahuwah Sabaoth, you shall invite one another under the vine and under the fig tree. So there is a beautiful promise. The branch brings back the garden kingdom. Tehillim, Psalm 105:33. It starts out in verse 1 by saying, give thanks to Yahuwah and to call upon his name. But just a side note, this is the bringing out of Mitzrayim, the bringing out of Egypt, and the promise that was made, the covenant with Abraham and an oath with Yitzhak. It says for 1,000 generations. So if we take biblically, a generation would be about 35 years. 35 times 1,000, that's 35,000 years. Or take modern day terms of 20 years to a generation. That's the low side of it. Even 20 times 1,000 is 20,000 years. So that's a long time. And he smote their vines and their fig trees and broke the trees of their borders. Mishle, Proverbs 27:18. Starts out by saying, do not boast of tomorrow. He who tends the fig tree eats its fruit, and he who guards his master is esteemed. Shir Hasharim, Song of Songs 2:13. The fig tree has ripened her figs, and the vines with the tender grapes have given a good fragrance. Rise up, my love, my lovely one, and come away. Back in verse 12, it said the flowers had appeared in the earth, but the time of singing had come, and the voice of the turtle dove, Tor, is heard in our land. Okay, and the turtle dove also means beloved, a beloved female, or term of endearment. Nehemiah Nehemiah 13:15. In those days I saw Yehuda and those treading wine presses on the Shabbat, and bringing in sheaves and loading donkeys with wine, grapes, and figs, and all kinds of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Shabbat day. So I warned on the day they sold food. Sirach 24:12 through 17. I took root, this is talking about wisdom. I took root in an esteemed people, even in the portion of the inheritance of Yahuwah. I was exalted like a cedar in Lebanon, and as a cypress upon the mountains of Hermon. I was exalted like a palm tree in En Gedi, and as a rose bush in Jericho, as a fair olive tree in a pleasant field, and grew as a fig tree by the water, and gave a sweet smell like cinnamon and rosewood, and I yielded a pleasant fragrance like the best myrrh, as galbanum and shoham and fragrant gum, and as the fragrance of frankincense in the Mishkan. As the cypress, I stretched out my branches, and my branches are the branches of esteem and favor. As the vine, I brought forth pleasant fragrance, and my flowers are the fruit of esteem and wealth. Baruch 5:7 through 9. For Elohim has appointed every high hill and long-standing mountains to be thrown down, and valleys filled up, to make the ground even, that Yasharel may go safely in the esteem of Elohim. And even the forest and every sweet-smelling tree shall shade Yasharel at the command of Elohim. For Elohim shall lead Yasharel with joy in the light of his esteem, with the kindness and righteousness that comes from him. Shoshana, Susanna, chapter 1, verse 54 through 58. Now then, if you have seen her, tell me under what tree you saw them joining together. Who answered, under a mastic tree. Now I had to look this up because I didn't know what a mastic tree was, but it's an evergreen, like the fig tree. A mastic tree produces varnish used for coating metals, oil, and watercolor pictures. It leaks a sticky resin used in cooking. It's in medicine and to bind books. The fruit is not commonly consumed, but is edible and has a tart raisin-like flavor. And Daniel said, very well, you have lied against your own head, for even now the messenger of Elohim has received the sentence of Elohim to cut you in two. So he put him aside and commanded to bring the other, and said to him, O you seed of Canaan, and ye not of Yehuda, loveliness has deceived you, and lust has perverted your heart. Thus have you dealt with the daughters of Yasharel, and they for fear joined with you. But the daughter of Yehuda would not abide in your wickedness. Now therefore tell me, under what tree did you catch them joining together? Who answered, under an evergreen tree. And the word used for that also is the holm tree, which is an evergreen oak with dark green. It's dark green and flowers are followed by cupped acorns. They're native to Spain, Turkey, and Croatia. And the timber is incredibly hard and strong. Romans used it for making wheels of carts and carriages and agricultural tools. It's used for firewood and sweet aromatic of woodland, black pepper, and cinnamon with caramel undertones. That's just a side note there. Second Esdras, chapter 2, verse 10 through 12. Thus says Yahuwah to Ezra, tell my people that I shall give them the reign of Jerusalem, which I would have given to Yasharel. I shall also take their esteem to myself, and give others the everlasting dwellings which I had prepared for them. They shall have the tree of high, of eternal, everlasting life, for an ointment of sweet savor. They shall neither labor nor be weary. Second Esdras 8:52. For to you paradise is opened. The tree of life is planted. The time to come is prepared. Abundance is made ready. A city is built and rest is given. Even perfect goodness and wisdom. 1 Maccabees chapter 14 verse 11 through 14. This is in the days of Shimon, which is the son of Mattityahu, Jonathan's brother, that was made the Kohen Haggadol, the high priest. He made peace in the land, and Yasharal rejoiced with great joy. For every man sat under his vine and his fig tree, and there was none to trouble them. Neither was there any left in the land to fight against them. The sovereigns themselves were also overthrown in those days, and he strengthened all of those of his people that were brought low. He searched out the law, and he removed every despiser of the law and wicked person. So if you have access to the Maccabees, read more in your time of that whole passage. Enoch, chapter 32, verse 3 through 6. And I came to the garden of righteousness, and saw beyond those trees many large trees growing there of pleasant fragrance, large, very pleasant and great, and the tree of wisdom, of which they eat and know great wisdom. That tree is in height like the fir, which can grow up to 330 feet tall. Its leaves are like the carob tree, or the locust bean. They have deep-rooted systems. And its fruit is like the clusters of the vine, very lovely, and the fragrance of the tree penetrates afar. Then I said, how lovely is the tree and how good to look at. Then Raphael, the Kodesh messenger who was with me, answered me and said, this is the tree of wisdom, of which your elderly father and your aged mother who were before you have eaten. And they learned wisdom, and their eyes were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they were driven out of the garden. So the next word that we're going to look at for fig is Strong's G4808, which is for fig tree, and it's Sirach, and G4810, which is Sikon, a fig fruit. So in Matthew chapter 7, verse 16, this is where Yahushua's talking about the gate is narrow and a warning of false prophets. By their fruits you shall know them. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? So we know good trees produce good fruit and bad trees produce bad fruit. Chapter 21, verse 19 through 21. This is when Yahushua had spent the night in Beth Enya, which can mean house of affliction or house of dates, and I've even seen house of figs. Beth Enya is Bethany. It's a town near Jerusalem at the foot of Mount Olives where Lazarus, lived, and Mount Olives was famous for their fig trees in ancient times. Okay, so Yahushua had spent the night there, and when he returned to the city in the morning, he became hungry. Okay, now this is the curse of the fig tree. And seeing a single fig tree by the way, he came to it and found naught on it but leaves, and said to it, let no fruit grow on you ever again. And immediately the fig tree withered. And the Talmudim, the taught ones, seeing it, marveled, saying, how did the fig tree wither so soon? And Yahushua answering said to them, truly I say to you, if you have belief and do not doubt, you shall not only do what was done to this fig tree, but even if you say to this mountain, be removed and be thrown into the sea, it shall be done. That goes back to Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah 8:13, the false pen of the scribe, where it says, I shall snatch them away, because there are no grapes on the vine or figs on the fig tree. James chapter 1, verse 5 through 6. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of Elohim, who gives to you all generously and without reproach. And it shall be given him, but he should ask in belief, not doubting. For he who doubts is like a wave of the sea driven and tossed by the wind. Matthew 24:32. Sorry, you guys, I got bad allergies. And learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. Okay, so the blossom is inside the fruit. So remember that. Those fruits being offered up. What is deep inside our hearts? Mark 11:13 through 14. And seeing at a distance a fig tree having leaves, he went to see whether he would find anything on it. And when he came to it, he found naught but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. And Yahusha, responding, said to it, let no one eat fruit from you ever again. And his taught ones heard it. Right after this, Yahusha turns over the money tables. In verse 20, and in the morning passing by, they saw the fig tree dried up from the roots. Then Kepha, Peter, remembering, said to him, Rabbi, look, the fig tree which you cursed is withered. And Yahusha answering saith to them, have belief in Elohim. We see it had leaves, but it wasn't producing fruit. The fruit grows before the leaf opens. Chapter 13, verse 28, we're still in Mark. And learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that the summer is near. Verse 29, so you also, when you see these taking place, know that it is near at the door. Yashayahu, goes back to Yashayahu, Isaiah 49. You who bring good news to Zion, get up into the high mountain. You who bring good news to Jerusalem, lift up your voice with strength. Lift it up and be not afraid. Say to the cities of Yehuda, see your Elohim. Lucas, chapter 6, verse 43 through 44. For a good tree does not yield rotten fruit, nor does a rotten tree yield good fruit. For each tree is known by its own fruit. For they do not gather figs from thorns, nor do they gather grapes from a bramble bush. Luke 13, 6 through 8. And he spoke this parable. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard. And he came seeking fruit on it and found none. And he said to the gardener, look, for 3 years I have come seeking fruit on this fig tree, and I find none. Cut it down. Why does it even make the ground useless? And he answering said to him, Master, leave it this year too, until I dig around it and throw manure. That goes back to Isaiah 5, 1 through 3. Please let me sing to the one I love, a song for my loved one regarding his vineyard. My loved one has a vineyard on a fertile hill, and he dug it up and cleared it of stones and planted it with the choicest vine and built a watchtower in its midst and also made a winepress in it. And he waited for the yielding of grapes, but it yielded rotten ones. And now, O inhabitant of Jerusalem and man of Yehuda, please judge between me and my vineyard. Now, it mentions grapes, but it sounds similar to the parable that we read. Luke 21, 29 through 30. And he spoke a parable to them. Look at the fig tree and all the trees. When they have already budded, observing it, you shall know for yourselves that summer is now near. Yochanan, John, chapter 1, verse 48. Yahusha saw Nathanael, which means given of El, coming toward him and said, see, truly a Israelite in whom is no deceit. Nathanael said to him, from where do you know me? Yahusha answered and said to him, before Philip, a lover of horses, before he called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you. All right, this goes back to Tehillim, Psalm 32:2. Baruch, or blessed, is the man to whom Yahuwah imputes no wickedness, and in whose spirit there is no deceit. Also, chapter 73, verse 1, a psalm of Asaph, which means the gatherer. Elohim is truly good to Yasharel, to those whose heart is clean. Jacob, James 3:12. My brothers, is a fig tree able to bear olives or a grapevine figs? So neither is a fountain to make salt and sweet water. Again, how is our heart conditioned? Chassan, Revelation 6:13. And the stars of the Shemayim fell to the earth as a fig tree drops its unripe figs, being shaken by a strong wind. That's at the sixth seal. Enoch 62, 3 through 4. And there shall stand up in that day all the sovereigns and the mighty and the exalted and those who hold the earth, and they shall see and recognize how he sits on the throne of his esteem, and righteousness is rightly ruled before him, and no lying word is spoken before him. Then pain shall come upon them as a woman in travail, when her child enters the mouth of the womb, and she has pain in bringing forth. And one portion of them shall look on the other, and they shall be terrified, and they shall be sad-faced, and pain shall seize them, when they see the Ben of Adam, the son of Adam, sitting on the throne of his esteem. Matthew 24:7-8. For nations shall rise against nation, and reign against reign, and there shall be scarcities of food. Well, we read that back in Psalm 105. Verse 33. And deadly diseases and earthquakes in places, and all these are the beginning of birth pains. Yoel 2:30-31. And I shall give signs in the Shamayim and upon the earth, blood and fire and columns of smoke. The sun is turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the coming and the great and awesome day of Yahuwah. Revelation 8:10. And the third messenger sounded, and a great star fell from the Shamayim, burning like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the fountains of water. Wormwood 9:1. And the fifth messenger sounded, and I saw a star from the Shamayim which had fallen to the earth, and the key to the pit of the deep was given to it. Enoch 93. And after that Enoch, both gave and began to recount from the books. And Enoch said, concerning the children of righteousness, and concerning the elect of the world, and concerning the plant of uprightness, I will speak these matters. Therefore I, Enoch, will declare unto you, my sons, according to that which appeared to me in the vision of the Shamayim of the heavens, and which I have known through the word of the Kodesh, the set apart messengers, and have learned from the tablets of the Shamayim. And Enoch began to recount from the books and said, I was born the 7th in the first week, while judgment and righteousness still endured. And after me there shall arise in the 2nd week great wickedness, and deceit shall have sprung up. And in it there shall be the first end. And in it a man shall be saved. And after it is ended, unrighteousness, shall grow up. And a law shall be made for the sinners. And after that, in the 3rd week, at its close, a man shall be elected as the plant of righteous judgment, and his posterity shall become the plant of righteousness for everlasting. And after that, in the 4th week, at its close, visions of the Kodesh, set apart, consecrated. And righteous shall be seen, and a law for all generations, and an enclosure shall be made for them. And after that, in the 5th week, at its close, the house of esteem and dominion shall be built forever. And after that, in the 6th week, all who live in it shall be blinded, and the hearts of all of them shall wickedly forsake wisdom. And in it a man shall ascend, and at its close the house of the dominion shall be burnt with fire. The whole race of the chosen root shall be dispersed. And after that, in the 7th week, shall an apostate generation arise, and its deeds shall be many, and all its deeds shall be apostate. And at its close shall be elected the elect righteous of the eternal plant of righteousness, to receive 7-fold instruction concerning all his creation. For who is there of all the children of men that is able to hear the voice of the Kodesh one without being troubled? And who can think his thoughts? And who is there that can look upon all the works of the Shamayim? And how should there be one who could look upon the Shamayim, and who is there that could understand the matters of the Shamayim, and see a being or a spirit and could tell of it, or ascend and see all their ends and think them or do like them? And who is there of all men that could know what is the breadth and length of the earth, and to whom has been shown the measure of all of them? Or is there anyone who could discern the length of the Shamayim, how great its height, and upon what it is founded, and how great is the number of the stars, and where all the lights rest? A tree may have a show of leaves, pretending to have fruit that wasn't there, like the Pharisees throughout time, who profess to be this and that, but from the inside their lives are fruitless. Fig trees have no blossoms on their branches. The blossom is inside of the fruit. Many tiny flowers produce the crunchy little edible seeds that give figs their unique texture. So are those little seeds? Figs are harvested according to nature's clock, fully ripened and partially dried on the tree. It takes 3 to 5 years to start ripening fruit, so several seasons before it produces fruit. All fig trees are evergreens. The main difference is the fruit, which can be harvested twice a year. The first crop is breba, which is the maturation of buds. The second crop is the main crop, the fruit itself. They grow 15 to 30 feet tall. Harvest is between June and September. We read when summer is near, right? Each little seed corresponds to a flower. So each one of those little seeds corresponds to a flower. A unique flower requires a unique pollinator. Edible figs have male and female flowers. Fig wasps, or pollinator wasps, crawl into the syconium and deposit larvae in the flower pistils. When larvae mature, male wasps impregnate female wasps, and the female wasp flies out of the syconium and transfer pollen onto other fig trees. The white Baca fig is said to be the most expensive. Turkey grows the best figs, then Egypt and Morocco. So that's our little illustration of figs. And I have these figs here, Smyrna figs, and they're from Turkey. And these are really good, really tasty. Fig trees produce white sap. If ingested, it can be harmful to children and pets. As always, there is a good and a bad in the world of plants, fruit, trees. The Capri fig is wild and not edible. Some species are referred to as stranglers, which cause them to encircle the host's tree trunk. These seeds eventually kill the host tree and they eat their hosts. Each fig can contain between 30 to 1,600 seeds. That's a lot of seeds inside of this little fig. Fig trees come in both male and female. The longest living fig tree is said to be 2,300-year-old sacred fig in Sri Lanka, said to have been planted in 288 BC. Let's look at just some of the health benefits of figs. Immunity. They're rich in antioxidants. Insulin control. They're high in potassium and magnesium to help stabilize insulin release. Heart health. Phenolic antioxidants in figs help lower risk for heart disease. Skin health. They reduce inflammation and redness of skin and help reduce acne. They reduce the risk of macular degeneration of eyes. They're rich in calcium and magnesium to help support and strengthen bones. Digestion. Figs contain ample amounts of fiber for proper waste removal. Weight loss. The high fiber content helps control hunger levels and reduce cravings. Cancer prevention. The flavonoid and antioxidants reduce cancer cell growth in breast, colon, and prostate. Blood pressure. High potassium helps reduce issues of hypertension. They can heal a sore throat. They're rich in zinc to help naturally boost testosterone levels. However, if you are on blood thinner medications, they may interact due to being fairly rich in vitamin K. And if you have allergies to birch pollen, you may be allergic to figs. They also contain a natural latex, which some have allergies to. Also, there are jams, bread, fig Newtons made from this. Raw figs are 79% water, 19% carb, and 1% protein. In ancient medicine, Mediterranean milky sap was used to soften calluses, remove warts, and deter parasites. Every year in Ocracoke, North Carolina, they have an annual fig festival. So So we have seen the references to figs in bringing forth fruit or lack thereof, rotten fruit. We've seen the growth cycle and some of the many health benefits. The health status of Yahuwah's people. To go set under one's vine and fig tree is said of those who live a life of peace, tranquility, prosperity, patient endurance through the painful growth cycles. Good gardens are image bearers of Yahuwah's heavenly kingdom, being deeply rooted in good soil. Self-check. What kinds of fruits are we producing? Do we have the Spirit dwelling in us? Let's look at Galatians chapter 5, verse 22 through 24. But the fruit of the Ruach, okay, the set-apart Spirit, the Holy Spirit, is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, trustworthiness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no Torah, okay? That doesn't mean there's no Torah. That just says against that because you're practicing all of that of the Spirit. And those who are of Mashiach, Messiah, have impelled the flesh with its passions and the desires. So the Torah is written on our hearts. And looking at the word tanah for figs, spelled ta, aleph, nun, hey. The meaning that I came up with for that, and that's not saying that it's exclusive, just from looking at how the letters have meanings. It's like a covenant from our Father to his seed, the fruits of the Spirit, the light of the world. The numerical total of Tanah is 456. So the way my mind works is I went and looked up scripture, Genesis, Bereshith 45, 6 through 7. Yosef made himself known to his brothers. And Elohim sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant in the earth and to give life to you by a great escape. Psalm 45, 6. This is a poetic love song. Your throne, O Elohim, is forever and ever. The scepter of your reign is a scepter of straightness. Enoch 45, 6. For I have provided and satisfied with peace my righteous ones, and have caused them to dwell before me. But for the sinners there is judgment impending with me, so that I shall destroy them from the face of the earth. Thank you for joining me for this study on figs. Stay firmly planted, upright, producing good fruits, and don't let the root of bitterness come in. May you have a beautiful week ahead, and I encourage you to go and read Luke 19, 12 through 30. The parable of what I wrote down was the nobleman and his servants. Beth Figah, the house of figs, and Beth Anya, the house of affliction. So I hope this was an encouragement to you, and thank you for taking the time to listen. Shalom, shalom.